Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. In this video, we are going to make this super easy crochet headband. This is a beginner-friendly project and it only takes about half an hour to complete. The yarn that I'm using is Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick. Right here I'm wearing the colorway Bedrock. In the video I show you using the colorway Glacier because it's much easier to see on camera. I'm going to show you two different methods. This is a twisted headband, so there is a little bit of a knot at the top. I'm going to show you how to do it with the plain twist, and then I'm going to also show you how to do it where we wrap the yarn around the twist and create a more vintage look. Let's jump right in and get started. The supplies you'll need to get started with this project include the yarn. I'm using Lion Brand yarns. This is Woolies Thick and Quick. The colorway is Glacier. You'll also need an MN crochet hook, which is a 9mm. And then you're also going to need some scissors and a blunt yarn needle, or these finishing needles that I have here. Let's get started with the pattern. There are two different sizes of this headband that you can make. You can make a small medium, which fits a head circumference of 21 inches, or you can make a large, which fits 22 inches. For this tutorial, I'll be showing you the small medium, but I will also let you know what differences to make the larger size as we move along. So to begin, you're going to start with a slip knot. And if you're unfamiliar with this technique, I do have a tutorial for that I'll put the link to in the description box below, as well as the top right-hand corner. And the same goes for the chain. So we're going to start off by chaining 40. And again, that's for the small medium size. If you need to make the large, you're going to start off by chaining 42. Okay, so once you're done with your chain, just meet me back here and we will move on to the first row. So there's my chain 40. I'm just going to set my hook down so that I can demonstrate to you guys what we're going to be doing next. So how I have everything laid out here is that these are all the front of the stitches, the tops of the stitches, right? You can see the little V's all along, and everything here is neat and facing in the same direction. What I'm going to do for this pattern is I'm going to face this side of the stitches down, and we're actually going to be putting a twist into our work. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to take a really close look. This is the back bump of the first stitch. This is the front loop only of the first stitch right here, and this is the back loop only of the first stitch. To connect it, we are going to slip stitch through the front loop only of the first stitch with the back side facing up, and that's going to put a twist into our work. So let's insert our hook under the front loop only, just like so, and then we are going to grab our yarn and slip stitch. Now, we're starting round 1. We're going to chain 1, and that brings us up to the height of single crochet, which is what this pattern is going to be worked in. Then we're going to go back into that same first stitch under the front loop, and we are going to single crochet. Then we're going to carry on working on the front loop, putting a single crochet into every stitch. Okay, so now we're looking at the V right here. This is just the chain like normal, and we are just going under that loop and putting a single crochet. As we work around, you'll see what this does. This puts a loop in it, and we're actually going to, on the first row, work both sides of these loops. It's honestly best not to think about it too much. This is what's called a Mobius. Basically, it's like an infinity scarf. But we end up working into both loops of the chain as we go around. So let's carry on, just working a single crochet into every stitch. Try to get it really close so you guys can see what I'm doing easily. Right in through the middle of the V there. I love this pattern because most of the time when you work in the round, you do not want to put a twist in your work. And so this is one where you get to do the twist, which is fun because that's just not very common. If you need help completing your single crochets, I of course have a pattern, or sorry, a tutorial on how to do that, which I'll link to in the top right hand corner. Okay, we're coming up on the spot where we connected. And I'll show you what I mean about working on both sides of the chain. Okay, so this is the last stitch here. Now there's that twist. What we want to do, we don't want to go work along the top of the single crochet. What we're going to do is we're going to reinforce this twist, and now we're going to be working in the back loop only. So let's move the tail out of the way. Okay, so let's take a closer look so you guys really see what I'm talking about here. I've now got this side, instead of going like this and trying to reconnect it facing all this direction, right? Like I could try to, if I didn't want to twist, I would try to make all of my stitches face up like this. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work into the back loop only of the chain, and that's where the twist in our headband is going to be. So what we're going to do is just insert our hook under what's the back loop only of the chain, and then we're going to single crochet. And we are going to carry on single crocheting the back loop only. Working in this manner means that we have twice as many stitches in the first row than we have in the chain, because we're working on both sides of the chain. Okay, so now we're coming up on the end of the chain. Oops. There's our last stitch. And you guys can see what's happening here. So let me remove my hook so that you really can. And you can see that there is a twist in our work there. And so that's going to be the twist in the headband. And this is a Mobius. You can see that there's really, because I've added that twist, now there's no correct direction for this to be. It's just one big continuous loop. I have a graphic at the blog that sort of explains more about this, and you can look it up on Wikipedia. They're really cool, but basically all it is we don't connect our first slip stitch the correct way. We put that twist in there, and then it doubles the length of the row that we're working on. Okay, so now that we are at this spot here, what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into what is the first stitch of row 1. We're going to slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into each around. So that includes that first stitch there. We're going to go back into that and single crochet into every stitch around. If you guys need to use a stitch marker, definitely feel free to do that. This is the first stitch right here. So every row, just to really drive home what I'm talking about here, every row that you work, you're working along both sides. You go all the way around in this direction, and then you come back and you work that direction.
So carry on working 1 single crochet into every stitch space.
Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. See, as you work around, there's our stitch marker. So that's the first stitch. So we've worked all the way around. Let's follow it. We've worked like this.
Where my hook is now is the halfway point of round 2. When we get back to the stitch marker, that's going to be the start of round 3.
I hope I've given detailed enough instructions for you guys to be able to do it. It's simple enough. It's just connecting the two ends with a twist. Then you end up working both sides. Crochet is kind of magical that way, right? Like we're getting yarn and our little wand, which is our hook, and then we are making something just from wool, or in this case acrylic and a little bit of wool. And you guys can make this however wide you want. Right, if you'd prefer it to have a great big width, you can keep going with it. I'm going to keep it at 3 rows. So this right here is the first row, and then this is my second row. And I'm going to go one more time for 3 rows. But if you wanted to, you could keep going. You could do 4 or 5 or whatever width you'd like. Okay guys, so now we're back to the first stitch here. I'm going to remove the stitch marker. I'm going to slip stitch, I'm going to chain 1, I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch space, put the stitch marker back in, and then we're going to go around again. 1 single crochet in every stitch around.
Once you're done with round 3, meet me back here and I will show you how to complete the headband.
Okay, this is the last stitch. And what we're going to do is take our stitch marker out. We're going to slip stitch to join. Let's take a peek here. So you can see it kind of looks like that. What we're going to do is we're going to pinch that twist and we're going to sew it. Just like that. We're going to use a big tail end here, and that's going to allow us to have enough yarn to sew that in place and also weave our end in at the same time. Just like that. You really want these bottom stitches to show, right? If you do it sort of close together, get a nice narrow pinch there. That looks super cute. Now if you want to, cut a very long tail end, and then that's going to give you enough yarn to wrap around this section, and then that's going to give you a nice vintage look. So I will show you what I mean by that. I'm going to take a nice long length of yarn here. Just going to cut it. Going to pull it through like so. Just fasten off. So if you want, you can wrap it. Here's our tail. We'll take care of that in a minute. Evenly like this so that the strands of yarn are one after the other and not stacked on top of each other. It's going to make it look much nicer this way. See? Just something like that. Or if you don't want this wrap in it, you can just sew it in place by pinching both sides together and weaving through both ends. Okay, so I'm going to undo this and I'll show you how to do it without this wrap around it. Just getting the yarn threaded here. I'm going to keep this very long tail, so bear with me as I weave. I want mine to have that little wrap in it, so I don't want to cut my tail end too short. So you can see here, this is where my tail currently is coming from, and if I want a nice narrow pinch, I want my yarn as I sew to be right through here. So I'm going to weave it down through these stitches until my yarn is coming out through that spot. So let's do that. Okay, maybe just one more stitch over. I'll show you guys what I mean. So see, it's kind of coming out through here, but I'm going to put my pinch just a little to the left of that. So I'm going to go one more stitch over. Okay, so now I've got my yarn coming up through the back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew through the front of this, coming up from the bottom. And then now my yarn is here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this stitch and I'm going to go back through both sides. Coming out, hopefully in between the stitches. Okay, that's a little bit more secure like that. So you want to do that a couple times. Now my yarn is on the back side. I'm just going to pop it through both sides again, coming out in between the stitches. And this is just going to hold that twist in place, so there's only one twist there in the front where we want it. Now I'm going to go back through to the opposite side one more time. I want it to come out right in the middle. So again, at this point you have a couple options. You could take this tail end if you want to leave it like this, and you can weave it through a few stitches here like that, then weave in your original tail and then you're all set, or you can wrap it around.
If you've enjoyed making this crochet headband, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you do make your very own, please feel free to tag me on Instagram or Facebook. I love seeing the projects that you guys make with these patterns. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment below. I'll see you in the next video.